Well, students, good evening to all of you. So, guys, today we discuss the topic phases of teaching. Okay. So, under the teaching, now, when I took the class, last class, we discussed about the teaching, nature and characteristics of a teaching, and little bit, if you know that, in a one slide, I talked about phases of teaching. Okay. But in your syllabus, there is a full-fledged topic of phases of teaching. And sometimes long questions can come on this, right? So questions can come on define about the teaching, characteristics of teaching, and the phases of teaching, right? So in detail, you have to learn. So as you know that in this topic, we'll talk about the, phases of teaching, right? You know that there are three phases of teaching: pre-active phase, interactive phase, and post-active, right? About teaching, nature and characteristics of a teaching, we are already done, right? About teaching, we are done, huh? Nature, characteristics of a teaching, we are done. So we start from here. Phases of teaching. There are three phases of teaching, right? One is pre-active phase, one is interactive phase, and third is post-active phase, right? So you can see that, pre-active phase me, what happens in the pre-active phase, right? So I will go a little bit fast because we have, some lecture we have already discussed, right? So under the pre-active phase, it talks about refers to planning, right? And under interactive phase, mein what happens? Now you have planned, right? Suppose tomorrow you have to go to deliver a lecture, and one day before you are doing the planning, right? Tomorrow you have to give a lecture to the students. You are planning one day before. This is called the planning phase, and this is called the pre-active phase. Now what happens in the interactive phase? Guys, interactive phase is the face-to-face with the students, right? Actual classroom teaching, right? Third is the post-active phase. So this is the most important. This is the most important, right? Okay, mostly teacher now forgets this, right? Post-active phase, what is the post-active phase? Post-active phase is the evaluations and follow-up phase. Actually, teachers now forget about this. This is the reason, teaching is not successful. Okay. You plan very better. You teach very better to the student. But sometimes you forget to take the test. Sometimes you forget to evaluate the student. So this is also important, right, guys? So phases of teaching: pre-active, interactive, and post-active, right? As you can see in the figure, right? I'm now pre-active phase, a little bit in a, explaining point of view, we discuss. Pre-active phase is the planning phase, right? In this phase, the teacher decides the transient certain body of knowledge to the learner and makes necessary planning and preparation in the terms of the following. अब क्या करना है आपको? What you have to do? You know that tomorrow you have to deliver a lecture. Okay. Now you have to see your lecture, number one, right? And you should have, knowledge of your student also. You know that tomorrow you have to deliver to the class of a 7th, 8th, 10th plus 2 class, whatever the class. You know that number of a student, right? Guys, first of all, you have to understand what is class. Class is basically, it is a, you can say that in the class, there are different kind of students. No two students are alike. Even the twins are different, right? In your class, some students are intelligent. You would be agree with me. Some are average, some are below average, right? Now, during you have to deliver this content to the students, you have to keep in your mind, if I start teaching in the intelligent way, so that lecture would be understood by the expert students, by the intelligent students. And in actual, it would be the insult of the average students and below average student. So what you have to say, what you have to do that, you have to prepare lecture according to the mental level of the student so that it would be understood by the average, below average, and the above average students. So which things you have to keep in your mind? You can see that number first, deciding the objective of instruction. Second, deciding the amount of content or the subject matter to be presented. Next, drawing an outline plan of activities. Next, you have to decide the medium or media of instruction of teaching. and deciding the evaluation method to be used for the assessment of the learning outcome. Right? So this is all about the pre-active phase. This is called, generally, this is called the planning phase. Okay, here you should have the knowledge of your students, your content matter, how you have to present to the students. Okay, how to make your content matter. You have to teach your content matter in a such kind of way so that every student can understand your lecture very well. Means you have more than one solutions of the particular topic. Topic is problem. You should have many solutions. That's why now it is said that, teacher should not be intelligent. Right? What I have said, teacher should not be intelligent. Teacher should be creative first. Teacher should be creative first. If the teacher is creative, then he can explain his topic in a many ways so that it would be understood by the average student, below average, and above average student. If the teacher is intelligent, so that lecture would only be understood by the intelligent students. And guys, if the teacher is creative, if the teacher is creative, so automatically he would be intelligent. Got it? So next is interactive phase. Ab interactive phase mein what happens? Now you have come into the class, face to face in the class, actual classroom teaching you have entered. So here, interactive phase is phase of actual classroom teaching. Here the teacher uses a number of techniques, aids, material for achieving the relevant goal objective already set. अब आपको खाली नहीं जाना है, right? In the class, you should have the some of the teaching aid, real teaching aid, right? You have to go with the many techniques, many examples in your mind for achieving the relevant goal. What is your goal? What is your goal? Your goal should be, whenever you enter into the class, your goal should be, whatever you are going to deliver to the student, it should be understood by each and every student. Not even a one student is left. This is your goal, guys. My dear students, this is your goal. Right? So what happens, what you have to do, under this interactive phase, you have to do that. Diagnosing the level of students' achievement in terms of their abilities, attitudes, interest, and academic background. Knowing learner. देखा ना? वही जो very first day मैंने बोला. B.Ed का crux भी यही है. If you know the learner ना, you have become a good teacher, effective teacher. You would be selected everywhere. Right? So ये देखो, what is written? Okay, again we read this line. Diagnosing the level of students' achievement in terms of their abilities, attitudes, interest, academic background. Again, sab sari cheezein means you should know the attitude of the student. You should know the aptitude of the student. You should know the intelligence level of the student. You should know the growth and development of the student. You should know the creativity of the student. Right? So everything it includes. That's why, guys, you should have first knowledge of this. How the student understands, right? How the student understands, you should know. Then you are a good teacher. Got it? Presenting. Up now, second is presenting information in the form of narration, reading instructional material. Asking questions. You should ask the questions in the class. Okay, by naming the students. Once you start the question, asking the questions in the class, by naming the student, trust me, student he starts learning, guys. Yes. Actually, what you do that now, you pour the, knowledge into the mind of the student. And you think that you have a, in your mind, you have made that you have taught very well. But when you will teach very well, once student will understand your concept very well. Asking questions, responding to the students' questions and request. Guys, actually teaching means now you have to work the mind, you have to stimulate the learning power of the student so that student can learn by himself. you have to make the student on such level so that he can solve the problem by himself. This is the purpose of teaching, right? Interactive phase. Third is a post-active phase. Under a post-active phase is the evaluation phase. Here the teacher tries to get feedback about his teaching through observation and evaluation, which helps in modifying his plans. So what happens in this phase? Number first bullet, keeping record of a classroom events, finding out significant reactions, collecting students' observation, and assessing in terms of attainment of instructional objectives. Okay, Malab, I clear in a very simple way. In this phase, Malab, you have to evaluate the student. Whatever the lectures you have given to the student, you can ask in the form of a test, oral test. Okay, you can note that how many students have understood, how many are not, right? And then you have finished your topic on this and where you have to state. So this is all about the evaluation stage. Even from this stage, you can check your lecture, you can evaluate your lecture also. Okay, so that in the next time you can modify your lecture, right? So guys, thank you so much. This is all about the post-active, so we have done all the three phases of teaching, right? Preactive phase, interactive phase, and post-active. Thank you so much guys for this lecture.